All right, so today we're going to tackle a topic in meditation that, let's be honest, can sound pretty mystical and maybe even a little out of reach for most of us. The first jhana. But we're going to look at this in a totally different light. Forget about it being some secret state you have to unlock. Think of it more like a practical mental skill, something you can actually develop. And it's all based on a really clear understanding of cause and effect.
So here's what we'll cover. First, we're going to bust a really common myth about meditation, what I like to call the recipe myth. Then, we'll shift our whole perspective to cause and effect. After that, we'll dig into how to actually work with those causes and then see how the good stuff, the effects, just kind of show up on their own. And finally, we'll talk about why this training matters so much more than just being a way to relax. Okay, so first up, the meditation recipe myth. And this is a big one because it's all about why you can't just add pleasure to your meditation. You hear the recipe for the first jhana and it sounds something like this. Okay, just add some pleasure and then add some rapture, right? It's talked about like these amazing feelings are just ingredients. Like you're baking a cake and you just decide to throw them into the mix. But where do you get them? Seriously, if they're ingredients, where are they? You can't exactly go to the store and pick up a carton of rapture or a bag of pleasure, can you? And that's exactly where this whole recipe idea just completely falls apart. So, if the recipe model is broken, what's the alternative? This is where we need a big shift in our thinking, a move towards cause and effect. And this comes from a really profound insight from the meditation master Ajahn Lee that honestly changes the entire game. And here's the core idea. It's so simple but so powerful. The factors of jhana are not a list of ingredients you need to find. Nope. They are a process of action and result. There are things you do, the causes, and then there are things that happen because of what you did, the effects. This chart lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got the causes. This is your job, this is the stuff you can actually do. Directed thought and evaluation, which lead to singleness of mind. Think of these as your actions. And then on the other side, you've got the effects, pleasure and rapture. These aren't things you do. They're the results that just pop up naturally when you do the first part right. They're the reward.
All right, so let's get practical. Let's talk about working with the causes, because this is how you actively train your mind.
So what is directed thought? I know it sounds kind of formal, but it's actually super simple. It's just the act of intentionally keeping your mind on one thing. In this case, the breath. Your mind wanders off, you notice, you bring it back. That's it. That little move, that's directed thought. And here's how you practice it. The goal is to just keep reminding yourself, stay with the breath. And when your mind inevitably wanders, you bring it back, like right away. Be as quick as you can about it. And here's the kicker. You don't have to finish the thought. You can just drop it mid-sentence. It feels weird at first, but you really have to learn to live with all those loose ends. Just let them go. Okay, the second cause is evaluation. And this word can be tricky because it sounds like you're supposed to be judging yourself, right? But it's not that at all. It's more like a skillful, gentle assessment of what's happening. You're just checking in with yourself, asking, hey, how does the breath feel right now? And finding what feels best. So you can ask yourself questions like these. How does the breath feel? Can I make it feel a little better? What kind of breathing feels really good right now? Or where in my body does it feel easiest to settle? The whole point here is to make the mind happy to come back. You're basically trying to make the breath the most comfortable, appealing place for your mind to hang out. And that's why you can't just grab the mind by the scruff of the neck. Think about it. If you do that, what's it going to do the second you let go? It's going to bolt. So instead of forcing it, you have to be clever. You have to be inviting. So the process looks like this. Step 1, you notice your mind has wandered off. 2, you gently drop whatever it was thinking about. And then 3, you reward the mind for coming back. And how do you do that? Simple. You make the breath feel really good. It's pure positive reinforcement. You're training your mind like you'd train a puppy, with kindness and treats. It helps to think of the mind as a committee. Seriously, it's not one single voice. It's a room full of different voices, and some of those members have their own agendas. They want to talk about dinner or that email you forgot to send. Your job isn't to yell at them. It's to be the patient chairperson who just keeps saying, thank you for your input, but let's get back to the topic at hand, over and over again. Okay, so you've been doing the work, right? You're working with the causes. Now let's talk about the payoff, the naturally arising effects. This is where all that skillful work starts to bear fruit.
This is where the pleasure and rapture finally make an appearance. But notice, you didn't go looking for them. You didn't try to force them to happen. They are simply the guaranteed result of cultivating the causes. They just show up. It's the natural outcome of doing the work.
So where does all this ease and well-being come from? Well, a few places. You're isolating yourself from all your worldly worries for a bit. You're giving yourself permission to just stay right here with no other responsibilities. There's this incredible sense of fullness that comes from not having to jump to the next thing, and this deep refreshment that comes from just breathing comfortably. It's that simple.
So why does this training matter? I mean, beyond just feeling good during meditation, this is about way more than just a technique. Because what you're really doing here, this is the beginning of discernment. This is how you learn to truly understand your own mind. It's not about stopping thinking. It's about learning to use thinking in a way that's actually helpful and leads to insight. And you can see the difference pretty clearly. The unskillful mind, it just follows cravings automatically. It makes up these long, complicated stories and gets totally lost in them. But a skillful mind, it learns to see a craving and just let it go. It sees the mind starting to build a story and can just observe the process instead of getting swept away. It can cut thoughts off cleanly. And here's the really wild, kind of counterintuitive part. The big insights don't come from analyzing your thoughts. They come from the simple act of dropping them over and over. By cutting thoughts off quickly, you start to see the super subtle process of how they even form to begin with. You see the spark before it becomes a fire. And that leads to this incredible insight. You don't really understand your craving until you've really let it go. Think about that. Following a craving just reinforces an old habit. It's autopilot. The real learning, the real understanding happens in that moment of freedom when you choose to let it pass. So, I want to leave you with a question to think about. What could you learn about your own mind, not by endlessly following its old habits and patterns, but by practicing, even for a moment, just letting them go?